The following is the Fatal 4-Way Podcast, and it is scheduled for one fall.
Welcome back to the Fatal 4-Way Podcast. I am your host, Luke Galindo, joined alongside Luke Carter, Dylan Oliver, and Justin Lasser-Tosa, where we talk everything professional wrestling. And boys, we had quite an interesting and exciting title change last week on Monday Night Raw. Jay is now the Intercontinental Champion of the WWE. How exciting is that? I personally love to see it.
I was not expecting it whatsoever, but I am on the hype train. I love Jey Uso. I think it's a great call. The mid-card titles are supposed to change hands. We're so used to them not, because Gunther and Logan Paul held them for so long, respectively. But I think it's a great thing. It's good for Jay. It does not hurt Braun that much. And the pop that Jay got when the ref's hand hit 3 was one of the best moments crowd-wise of the year. I think it's a great decision. And the match was fantastic. I think it was Braun's best match on the main roster.
Yeah, I mean, with Jey Uso winning this championship, I'm not mad about it at all. Braun Breaker still looked very strong in the match. They didn't make him look weak or anything like that. So Jey Uso finally capitalizing on that popularity that he's had over the last year and a half now is great for the WWE. But I just can't believe that it happened. I mean, Braun Breaker, this super young star, finally beat Sami Zayn and took the title from him. And then he did not hold it very, very long. I mean, I don't think any of us saw it coming, as last week on our show, we all predicted Jay to win that one, and we looked very, very stupid with that prediction. But yeah, I can't believe it happened, but I'm definitely not mad about it, and now I'm very excited to see where Jey Uso goes in his storyline with this tag title, and if he ever does make it back to the Bloodline story, or if he just keeps riding the wave of his solo career.
Yeah, this was a pleasant surprise because we haven't really seen many surprises like this with at least titles changing hands in recent memory. So I'm glad that we got it. And the guy that won it, obviously, Jey Uso, as you guys said, definitely deserves it. Long overdue, in my opinion. And I personally just think, I don't know. I mean, if you have a guy like Jey Uso who's drawing in merch sales and getting good crowd reactions every single week for the better part of over a year, you kind of have to give him his moment at some point. And do I think this will be a long title reign? No. As Luke said, these titles kind of have to change hands in a way, so I don't really expect him to have a long reign. And I do ultimately think that this title reign somehow, some way, ties him back into this Bloodline storyline. But it was definitely a cool moment. I didn't get to see it live, but I look at my phone afterwards and I see Jey Uso hit the 1, 2, 3, and I literally just jumped out of my seat of like, oh wow, like I was not expecting this. I personally think it should have happened on Bad Blood, maybe open the show. That would have been one of the better show openers in recent memory. But Jay deserves it. I'm excited to see what he does with this title. We'll see tonight on Raw.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually disagree with you, Justin, on the should have taken place on Bad Blood. I think it's important that we have these moments on Monday Night Raw. I think especially with the move to Netflix coming soon, like you have to keep Raw feeling important and fresh, and it's not something you want to do every week, but you have to have one or two of those maybe title changes or big returns on a Monday Night Raw to make Raw feel special, and I think they did such a good job with it, and I commend Triple H for making the call to put it on Raw instead of the pay-per-view.
Fair. I think it's kind of like splitting hairs too. Like it would have been a great moment either way, whether it's on Raw or whether it's on Bad Blood. I think it could have maybe had a little bit better of a feel on a card like Bad Blood, but I don't hate the take of Raw's going to Netflix, and you need sort of changes like this to happen on a Monday Night Raw to make it feel even more important. So I don't necessarily hate the take, but I think a guy like Jey Uso, who everyone's been clamoring for to finally win a title, may have been a little sweeter on Bad Blood, but I don't know. That's just me.
With it being on Raw, though, it obviously adds to the shock factor of it. But I think another reason this match was so shocking that Jey Uso won was because there was such an easy way to just make it the same thing that happens every time. Jay is about to win the championship, and then he gets screwed over by somebody else because he's been involved in this Judgment Day storyline. So the entire time, I fully believed that some members of the Judgment Day were going to run out there and mess up the match for Jey Uso like every other singles championship match has gone for him. But then they just never came out, and Jay got it done, and everyone was yeeting all over the place. So you love to see it.
Yeah, that was definitely a very fun way to start the week for sure. This Monday Night Raw, we do have a fun match. Brunson Reed versus Braun Strowman, last monster standing. Should be a fun one. Should be chaotic. And just a great match in the ring, I think. It's two very strong individuals. You can't go wrong watching something like that.
Yeah, we had this match a couple weeks ago, and we sort of talked about it. And I think this is the third of a trilogy, and this is kind of what I like about like WWE kind of stacking their cards so different people get to main event, because now you have Bad Blood on the horizon, and you got all the A-list, B-list stars, but you could give guys like Braun Strowman, Brunson Reed a chance to main event. I think there's also like Rey Mysterio versus Xavier Woods is one of like the high caliber matches on the show. So I like being able to kind of just split things in half and give everyone really the spotlight that they deserve.
Yeah, now on this match, I definitely think it's benefited a lot by not being on a PLE like Bad Blood, and I'm glad that it is just on this Monday Night Raw. But like we talked about, what was it, 2 weeks ago now when this match happened, it's just two big dudes wrestling. Like, it's just going to be a very physical, very, very, very physical match, and I think it'll be a fun one. I don't think in ring it's not going to be like a technically great wrestling masterpiece between these two big guys, but it'll just be a fun monster fight. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be an in-ring technical match, because I don't even think more than a minute of the match will take place in the ring itself. I think this is going to be like a classic SmackDown versus Raw video game type backstage brawl where they're just going to tear apart the whole arena. But fun fact for you guys tonight, tonight is the last 3-hour Raw.
Yes, which until they moved to Netflix, right?
Yes, it's the last one on the USA Network. That's 12 consecutive years of 3-hour Raws.
This is what I hate, because fans have been clamoring for Raw to move to 2 hours for a very long time. But like now, 2024 going into 2025, you have the talent to fill out a 3-hour show. And now I feel like there's more fans talking about we need to move SmackDown to 3 hours rather than we need to bring Raw back down to 2. I don't know. I know it's short term, but I'm not a fan.
I think Netflix is the perfect median, because I think what makes Raw feel so long and bloated is the commercial breaks. Yes. I think 2 hours, no commercials is perfect, but you can't do that on network television, obviously. So I think it's okay for this next 2.5 months to get rid of it. You might lose getting a little bit of extra talent on the card, but I think when you get to Netflix, 2 hours, no commercials is the perfect amount of wrestling for a weekly show.
I agree. Other news of WWE, the Vince McMahon documentary was not out last week when we were kind of previewing it, but it is now. I know, Luke, you've seen the whole thing. Dylan, you've seen bits and pieces. Justin, you haven't seen any at all.
I watched 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay.
Yeah. So I finished it, and I'll give my piece for the viewers at home. If you are a watcher of our show and you are a full-on hardcore wrestling fan, you know everything that's happened in the history of WWE, this doc is not for you. I mean, it goes a little under the iceberg, but if you're hoping to go deep into the Vince McMahon lore iceberg, you're not getting that here. If you're a casual wrestling fan, or if you're just getting into wrestling, I highly recommend this documentary for you, because you will learn so much about the history of WWE, how it came to be, how it's evolved over the years, and it's produced excellently. They do a great job with all the interviews, getting so many different perspectives. So it's kind of give and take where your level of fandom with wrestling is. But if you're a casual or new wrestling fan, you'll love it.
Yeah, I, as you know, am newer to WWE, and so I didn't grow up with it. I didn't really know much of the history, and so I think the McMahon documentary is more of like a WWE kind of history. It kind of goes through how he built it up into the thing it was today, and from this little like company territory, thank you, in New England to the entire country and going to places all around the world. And I thought it was very interesting. I learned a lot of new things about like the different territories, ECW. Crazy stuff over there. I learned about the Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Razor Ramon, and Bret Hart like hugging in the ring,
the
and how
curtain
that was
call.
a huge controversy. And they like WWE has been in so many controversies.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous, and how it's still here today is beyond me.
It really shows the gray line of where Vince McMahon, the human, shows his sides of Mr. McMahon, the on-screen character that we love to hate. But it shows that maybe he's really not playing a character. He's just he can be his true self on TV and call it being a bad guy.
Yeah, so I've seen about a little over half of the show now. I've watched 3.5 episodes, and the one thing that just like really I thought was super interesting was like the first 5 minutes when they're talking about all these stories, and Vince is like, oh, I don't want to go in too depth about any of the true stories. I don't want anyone to know who I really am. It's like, what's the point of this documentary if you're not going to... So I just thought that was interesting. Like, all right, so what are you really doing? Because then there's other parts of it so far where he's said one thing, and then like Shawn or Triple H will kind of jump in, or even his own son Shane will kind of jump in.
I think Shane is a great perspective.
Yeah, they'll
in the
jump in and just kind of contradict what he's saying. So
which I think it's really like a very interesting way to do the documentary by getting all those perspectives. It kind of lets the viewer, they're not directly like telling you how it like events happened, but it's pretty easy for the viewer to kind of digest the information that's coming at you and create your own opinion of, oh, this is probably how the company was kind of getting raised.
So I have been a fan of it so far. I got the final 2.5 episodes to watch, and I'm very excited to finish those, but I just so far have not really trusted any words that Vince McMahon has said throughout the whole documentary. I trust everyone else.
I think my biggest takeaway is you can't discredit what he did to build the company up, but it is a very, very, very good thing that he is no longer in charge.
I agree.
Without watching the documentary, like that is literally what you just said, Luke, like the encapsulation of all of my thoughts on Vince McMahon. Like without him, professional wrestling is like as a whole is nowhere near where it is.
And that's what the documentary I feel like is about, just how he's not a great human being, but he is a very good businessman, and he knew how to draw in a crowd, how to get people's attention, how to use people's emotions to get them to care about this product that he was putting out. Yeah. With that being said, we have Bad Blood this Saturday. We got some very exciting cards. We got a little 12 minutes left in the show, so we will go over the card real quick and predict. Fellas, we got to do a better job of predictions. We all are 0-1 so far on predictions. This is a WWE show. We're supposed to know what we're talking about.
Gotta lock in.
Exactly. So, first match, Bayley versus Nia Jax. Bayley getting the opportunity with her win on SmackDown, getting a shot at the title to regain the title. And do we think, there's been some talk that I've seen Tiffany Stratton maybe using her money in the bank on this match? What do you guys think?
I'll go first. I'm going to say Nia retains. They tease a Tiff cash-in. Doesn't happen. Safe booking here. Triple H doesn't like to play hot potato with the big titles. Nia Jax, keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, I agree pretty much with that entire statement. I think that Nia Jax will end up winning this match, and then Tiffany Stratton will come out, celebrate with her for a little. They'll do some sort of tease like she could cash in. But I think the Money in the Bank briefcase just complements the character of Tiffany Stratton so well that she's not going to use it anytime soon. I think she holds on to it for a while, really lets that part of her character develop, and then later on she'll finally cash in and become the women's champion in a successful cash in. But for this match, it'll just be Nia Jax retaining her title.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I think Nia Jax wins SummerSlam rematch. I don't really see any reason at all to give Bayley the title back. And then I think you have Tiffany Stratton come out, some sort of celebration with a tease at a cash-in, as you guys said. I think this Tiffany will inevitably cash in her briefcase probably towards the end of the year or beginning of next, around the time when Charlotte Flair comes back. And then I think we build up to that match at WrestleMania 41, Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair, sort of a passing of the torch. I think that's sort of the timeline I'm getting from this of when we'll actually see her cash in, but it's not going to be right now. Nia retains and build further to that storyline.
We're really going all in on Nia Jax. We better hope Bayley doesn't win this for the sake of the show. I also believe that Nia Jax will win, and there will be no cashing in of Money in the Bank. Moving on to our next match, we have Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. Should be a very interesting. It's not for any title, correct? No title on the line, but there is a lot of story on the line. Used to be together in a faction, now they're not. We'll go Justin Lacertosa first. What do you think? Who will win?
First of all, I think they've done a pretty horrific job at building this storyline. Between them one-on-one since SummerSlam, it's been more so the new Judgment Day versus Damian, Rhea, and Jay. And I wish we just got more layers to the actual Priest versus Balor storyline, whereas like it was kind of a thing that wasn't spoken during the time, but when they were in the Judgment Day together, it seemed like they were both kind of clashing for that leadership spot. And I feel like we haven't really got enough layers in terms of that. But just that aside, in terms of the match, I think you have to give it to Finn Balor because this new Judgment Day is you need to propel them up strong because I haven't really seen them or really looked at them as some sort of powerhouse group that could, carry the mantle that the old Judgment Day had. So I think you need Finn Balor to win this first one. I expect this to be some sort of trilogy, maybe one match on Raw and then one at Survivor Series, Crown Jewel, whatever. But I think Balor gets this first match. It's pretty typical to have the heel win the first of a trilogy, and I think we'll see that here.
Yeah, I agree with you when you say that, like, their build to a singles match just hasn't been that fantastic. Obviously, at SummerSlam, Balor betrayed Priest with the in the Gunther match, but then they haven't really done anything individually with each other since. It's always been Dom and Liv and everybody else involved in it. And I do like, though, the story that I feel like at the start when Finn Balor first came to the original Judgment Day, he was brought in as he was supposed to be the leader of the group. They kicked Edge out, the former leader, the creator, for Finn Balor. He should have jumped in and been the one in the main event picture, been the leader of the group. And he just never really lived up to that and never really became that. And Priest kind of took that role instead. So I feel like there could be some animosity, some jealousy there, and that could be a reason for Finn Balor's turn on him. And I do think that Balor has to win this match to make this new Judgment Day seem like a threat and to give Balor the credit he deserves for being such a good wrestler and just to continue the story in general. But I do think Balor has to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, I have not liked the build of this either. The moment at SummerSlam was so good during the match. Damian Priest literally gave up his World Heavyweight Championship because he went to go strangle Finn Balor's neck with two hands instead of stay focused on Gunther. And I feel like this match should have had brawls leading up to it. I think it should have a stipulation. I think we should be having an Extreme Rules match or something. But it kind of has no steam. And for that reason, I kind of think Triple H is just going to give the win to Damian to get it over with. I think he's not invested. So it makes more... I want Finn to win. I think it makes more sense for Finn to win. But I don't know. I think this is just one and done, and Damian's going to take it.
I have the exact same thinking that you do, Luke. I just think that there's not... If there were to pass the belt... Or no, there's no belt, sorry. If they were to have Finn win this historical kind of beef that they got going on, I think it would have to be more of a spectacle and more of a bigger lead up to the fight for sure. And for that reason, I think Damian's going to win and possibly set up another feud with Finn Balor that will be more epic and more something spectacular to see. Next fight we have on the card is the Women's World Championship on the line. Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan, with Dominic Mysterio dangling from the top in a shark cage. I have a prediction for this match. I think both, if possible, both women are getting on that cage, if not one of them, jumping off the top. They're going to be doing something with that cage, I already know. And I think Liv's going to win. I think Liv is going to win to get some payback at Rhea for losing in that tag team match. I just think it will set up a very fun story with Dominic being right there in the shark cage. And it will definitely... It's going to be an interesting one. I think a lot of shenanigans can go on in this match.
Yeah, the last time they did a shark cage was Royal Rumble 2017.
Jericho
Chris
Owens.
Jericho suspended from the ring, and
Roman
that was
Reigns.
great. That was
was a great
excellent.
match.
And if there's anyone who's going to do it as well as Chris Jericho did it, it's Dominic. I think he will be so fun to watch. But I'm going to take Rhea in this because I think Dominic is going to try to assist Liv by dropping down some sort of weapon or something, and he's not going to do it right. It's going to backfire, which is going to lead to Rhea getting the win due to Dominic messing with Liv and giving Rhea the win.
I gotta disagree here. I'm pro Judgment Day in these predictions. I'm going Liv Morgan. I mean, if you're gonna end the feud here, then yeah, you have Rhea win, you have Priest win. I don't think they're ending the feud right away, though. I still think there's more to explore, especially at Survivor Series, potentially. Who knows if it'll be a War Games match or just some sort of multi-man / multi-woman match, but something I think that might set this feud off towards the end. And I think if you just have Rhea win the title, I feel like that is the nail in the coffin to where, like, okay, Rhea wins the title, what do we do now? So it's kind of two different paths and two different roads you could take, and because of the way I'm leaning, I'm going Liv Morgan.
First thing I want to say about this match is I'm glad Dirty Dominic Mysterio is back where he belongs, behind bars. He never should have gotten out. Anyway, I got the same mindset here that Justin has. I don't think that they can just end these Terror Twins versus Judgment Day storyline after one PLE, and it would be over if Priest and if Rhea Ripley won. So I do have Liv Morgan winning this one just because I think that this storyline on Raw is one of the best things that they have going on, this love triangle between Rhea, Liv, and Dom, and that they want to keep getting every ounce of content that they can out of it. And so I think that they continue this rivalry and continue to have these matches for a little bit longer, and Liv wins this one.
All right, so all me, Justin, Dylan
I'm
are
the
for
only
Liv,
one-
and you are
only
for
one with
Rhea.
Rhea.
Okay. Next match, we've been waiting to see Roman and Cody on the same team, and we are finally going to get it this Saturday when they fight Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. Do we think there could be any heel turn at the end of this from Cody or Roman on the other?
No.
No, okay.
I think that's too early. I think that's premature. I think kind of what they're doing right now is the standard that we'll see where they team up and everyone around them gets pissed off. Like Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, I expect those heel turns to be coming soon. Randy maybe later down the line because of what he said, yeah, I'll trust you until, you disobey that trust. But I think Kevin Owens turns heel, not at Bad Blood, but a little bit after, setting up their second match with more stakes on the line in that regard, now that they're actual enemies. But I don't see any sort of heel turn between Cody or Roman or whoever in this match. What I do expect to happen, I think, kind of what we saw, I think it was 2 weeks ago on SmackDown. I forget. It was Solo and Jacob versus Randy and KO. And Jacob made the final move on, I think it was KO, ran out of the ring and let Solo get the pin, who did absolutely nothing. And I think that's exactly what we're going to get. Jacob takes out Roman Reigns, rolls out of the ring, lets Solo take the pin. Solo pins Roman, and then that leads to Roman versus Jacob at Crown Jewel, which I think inevitably will be the main event of that show. But yeah, I got Solo and Jacob winning. No heel turns, no shenanigans. Solo and Jacob win.
I also have Solo and Jacob winning, but I have it due to the return of Seth Rollins, who is going to be very, very upset that Cody Rhodes is teaming with Roman because Seth Rollins was Cody Rhodes' shield at WrestleMania. He put his body on the line for Cody to stop Roman, and just like we saw with Kevin Owens, it's going to be that level of anger, but times 10,000 because of the history there. And I think Seth Rollins returns costing this match for Roman and Cody, and I think that's going to lead us to Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, number 4 at Survivor Series.
I really like that prediction, and I honestly kind of hope that that's what happens, but I simply don't think it will. I don't think it's going to be boring, but I think it's just going to be like a basic tag match between Roman, Cody, and the Bloodline, and I think that in the end, you have Cody Rhodes and you have Roman Reigns, your two biggest stars in the company. I don't think they're going to have them go in team up and lose on a PLE together and make them look weak. I think that they will get it done. They'll win. And, I mean, they're trying to push Solo and make him seem like a threat, but people just don't buy it. People just aren't loving it. People don't like Solo. They don't like this bloodline. They want Roman Reigns back in charge of the bloodline and him being the tribal chief like he always has been. So I think Roman and Cody establish their dominance and beat the bloodline and prove that they're not a real threat.
I also have Cody and Roman. With those two big stars in the ring, I just don't see how they could lose. Short and sweet, give me Cody and Roman. And now we're going to our, I believe, main event. Maybe that's not true.
They haven't announced it yet.
Have not announced the main event. But CM Punk and Drew McIntyre will be fighting in Hell in a Cell. Who do we got? Dylan Oliver.
All right, I'm going to make this fairly quick. It's CM Punk's first real feud since returning to the WWE in over a decade. It's tied 1-1. Punk's not losing his first feud back. Give me CM Punk over Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, this build has been awesome. I think it's the most excited I've been for a Hell in a Cell match, and it's been the match that I felt has deserved the Hell in a Cell stipulation the most in years. I think CM Punk is going to win, and if I could ask for one thing, it's that the name of the pay-per-view lives up, and both men are bleeding throughout this match.
I agree. I think CM Punk takes this one. I don't see a reason he loses his first feud back, especially when Gunther's looming in the distance. I think that's his Survivor Series opponent. You need him to go strong into that match. Hopefully this is the main event. I think the work that these two have put on throughout the entire year 2024 kind of deserves one, and it'd be kind of just a crazy coincidence to see CM Punk come back to be that main eventer, and he's just getting overshadowed by the two top stars once again. As a CM Punk fan, I would personally hate that, so I think this should go on last, and I think Punk should get his moment in Atlanta, Georgia, in Hell in a Cell.
I was going to pick CM Punk to win, but you guys all did, so I'm going with Drew. He's going to win. There's going to be blood everywhere and just flesh lying all over the ring. I think we are just about out of time, so thank you, everyone, for listening to the Fatal 4-Way podcast. Join us next week, same time at 4 o'clock on Monday, where we will be breaking down and see if we redeem ourselves on our predictions. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.
Follow us on Twitter at Fatal 4-Way Blaze.